Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Mark Borstein. I am the CTO at Terminal Security, co-author, Kubernetes Enterprise Guide, third edition, why we're all here. For my friends in the US, hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving and a blessed Thanksgiving. And for my friends in the rest of the world, I hope you all had a really good week. Um, so uh, Before Thanksgiving, we were in section 2 of chapter 19, which is a big one, which is deploying a portal. And we rolled out the infrastructure for our portal. So we've got 3 clusters. We have a control plane. The control plane has Open Unison for authentication in our Active Directory. It has GitLab. It has, which we're using for Git, obviously, as well as pipelines. It has Argo CD for CI/CD, Argo or GitOps. We've got what else do we have? We have Harbor as our container registry, and finally we have I'm missing one. Oh, Vault for secrets management, right? And we integrated everything, and we used Pulumi to deploy it all in one shot. And then we've got, oh, not quite one shot. And then we've got a dev cluster and a production cluster that's going to host our tenants. So everything was rolled out, everything was deployed. If you're joining us in real time and you're following along at home and you've built this out, you are going to need to do a refresh of the infrastructure. I fixed a bunch of stuff related to changes in versions of vCluster and Vault. But that said, today what we're going to focus on is actually deploying our tenant, taking our infrastructure and putting people in it. So we're going to start with the deployment, and then because that deployment's probably going to take 20 to 30 minutes to roll out, we're going to kind of talk then. Scott thinks he's going to join us today. He's running a little bit late. Apparently has a day job, and they expect him to work. But hey, what are you going to do? So anyway, if you are out there, please say hello, ask questions. We love saying hi. We love talking to folks. And yeah, so let's get this party started. So I am going to start off, let's see, where am I in the book? Where am I in the book? I am on page 613. Make this. You can't see this obviously because it's off screen, but I've got the PDF of the book open here. And if you're watching this during the holiday season, I think Packet's got this book down to like $40 on Amazon. Buy the Dead Tree because it's not that much more expensive than the Kindle version, and Packet will send you a PDF, so you get both. So anyway, so I'm on page six. What did I say? 613. So let me go ahead and share up my screen. And the first thing I'm going to do is log in to my environment as Jay Jackson. Now, Jennifer, I think, yes, Ms. Jackson here has no permissions, right? But she needs a new application. She's going to own this new application we're rolling out. So let's go ahead and deploy it. So we're going to go to new Kubernetes namespace, and we're going to call it my app. And the reason is going to be new application. And we're going to hit save. And I'm going to log out. I'm going to log back in as an approver. This instance, M. Mosley. Of course, if I knew password, it'd be easier. There we go. So in this particular workflow, we're saying, you know what? We're not going to let just anybody log in and create an application. We got to validate that they've got a reason to create the app. You might want to say, add some checks here for, does the infrastructure have the necessary infrastructure or resources, right? Speaking of English, not too well today. different things you could do. But here we're just doing a simple approval here. And if you wanted to, tweak this so that's all API driven, maybe you integrate it into your ServiceNow workflow or whatever, that'll work too. So for live stream, so I'm going to approve the request. Now I'm going to come over here to the logs, and you will see that once I hit this button, we got a lot going on. And we're not going to dive too much into each individual component. Once it gets going, we'll talk about the different objects that we're creating across the environment. Yeah, this is going to take a while. So I'm going to go ahead and kick this off. So confirm. And away we go. So now, while this is running, and this is going to, like I said, this is going to take quite a while. You'll see here that we're provisioning some stuff into Git. This entire tenant is designed around the idea of GitOps, right? So in previous chapters, whenever we've used Open Unison to automate something, such as setting up secrets, setting up vClusters, whatever, we have just talked directly to the API server. We don't want to do that this time. We want to use GitOps. So instead of having Open Unison provision objects directly into the API server, we're provisioning them into Git and letting Argo CD sync them. Now not going to dive too deeply into what Argo's doing because we're going to give Argo its own show, because if I tried to do everything in one show, it'd be like a 6-hour show. So we're gonna break this up over the course of multiple weeks. So while that's going, why don't I go ahead and we're actually going to take a step back into chapter 18, where we discuss what our tenant looks like and how everything comes together. So let's see here if I can bring up. So this is what our tenant onboarding process looks like. Bring this down here. Okay, so the idea here is we requested a new application, right? This is the part that we showed, right? Requested a new application. We approved that application. And now we've got to create objects in GitLab, in Kubernetes, in Argo, in Vault, in MySQL, because we have MySQLs in both clusters. In Harbor, we got to set up Cert Manager. And we also have to set vCluster. So we're not just setting up a namespace, but we're setting up stuff in that namespace and its own cluster. So we're actually rolling out 2 virtual clusters, one for dev and one for prod. So there's a lot going on here. And then once that's been approved, we can then go ahead and start working with it in a GitOps space. So here's a partial rendering of all the objects we're creating, and we'll just do a quick check-in to see how we're doing. So it's humming along. And you can see here that stuff's going on here, and things are getting provisioned. So let's do a quick check to see what's going on here. So this is a partial map of all the objects we're creating. In GitLab, we're creating, and again, we'll do deep dives into GitLab and Vault and Harbor in future shows to be able to show off what we're doing, because there's so much going on here. But we're creating an application. We need to create repos for our application. We need to create a repo for the operations. You want to typically separate out your operations from your application code, from your build code. So we separate that out. We create one operations for dev and one operations for prod. Now, if you read the second edition of the book, you might, and the first edition, there's a big difference here in that in the first 2 editions, we actually had dev be or prod be a fork of dev, or dev be a fork of prod, I think. And so we didn't do that this time because it's just usually, there he is. He's probably thinking, how long is it going to take for Mark to notice I'm here? I noticed you were here immediately.
Hey, Mark. Apologies.
Hey, how you doing, Scott?
Tired. Sorry, my voice is shot too from last night. Had a vendor in town for coming to
He
show
was
stuff.
out partying. He was at a
Yeah,
concert.
that would have been great, but no, it was not. It's still a good time. Yeah. It's that time of the season.
Yep. So we were just talking about all of the objects we're automating as we onboard our tenant.
That's like
And
one or two. I mean,
yeah, does it? And the other thing we're pointing out is that we're not just creating the objects, but we're creating stuff in Git and waiting for it to sync, which is a lot harder of a problem to solve, right? I will say I see a lot of organizations that will do their GitOps by all sorts of crazy different like request ways of like that you submit a CR and then there's an operator that does this stuff. All sorts of different ways you can do it. I like the way OpenUnison does it, but hey, I'm me, right? So we're creating stuff in GitLab. We are not using dev as a fork of prod or prod as a fork of dev for operations because that's an anti-pattern. Your dev and your prod environment are rarely going to be the exact same. Like kudos for you if you pull it off, but it never happens. There are projects out there to try and make it easier to promote from dev to prod and through environments. Acuity, the people who the company founded from the people who created Argo CD, came out with a project called Cargo. That is supposed. I haven't had a chance to play with it. I really wanted to include it in this chapter. I ran out of time. But they've got one way of handling it. And there are lots of custom scripts that people will use to do the promotion from one Git repo to another. We don't try and cover that in this chapter. That's too much. We then need to create objects in Argo to be able to not only give you the ability, your tenant owner, the ability to manage and go into Argo, but also for Argo to talk to our vClusters. And we'll get into that when we talk about Argo. I think we'll do Argo next week. We got to deploy stuff into the control plane. And then we've got to provision two vClusters, a dev and a prod. We got to put open unisons in both of those just because the vCluster doesn't mean you don't have compliance requirements anymore. And then we also are going to provision tenants into Vault for each of our vClusters and into Harbor. Plus, you can't really pull anything from Harbor unless you have a pull secret. So we're going to generate a pull secret, put it in Vault, and use external secret operator inside of our tenant clusters to be able to get that secret. So there's not a lot going on here, Scott, but I find a way to fill up an hour.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it takes a lot of stuff that we've done, obviously, and just kind of brings it all together.
Yeah, and I'm just checking on here. Let's see, how far have we gotten? So this says we deployed the vCluster. So let's go check out. Let's see what's going on here. So I'm going to go into the control plane. God, I love dashboards. And we have our my app namespace. Or no, actually, we want to go into the OpenUnison namespace. Here we go. And let's see, check out pods. So we can see here we've got this onboard vCluster. So OpenUnison launched a job to deploy our vCluster into our control plane or into our dev cluster. And we've got to figure out a good way to show this off, but we'll look at how that all happens securely without any static tokens. Like that's one of the really cool things. There are no static tokens anywhere in this. Well, except for Vault, but blog post coming out soon how we can eliminate that too with some new functionality we got in Open Unison. Sorry, I know I'm getting a little salesy, but I'm actually really excited about that.
No, it's something that needs to be done, Mark, right? Because all the ways to integrate Vault are either manual, long-lived, or have other potential problems like delegating system auth or auth delegate to every service account.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is just not the right way to do that.
Yeah, and so we'll look at that one. We'll probably do an excursion on that one because that's a fun one. But so right now what we're doing is, so we've launched a pod. We launched a job originally that deployed Vault. Now we're deploying Open Unison into Vault, and we'll go through. I hate saying we'll go through how these things are all talking to each other securely and being managed, but there's so much going on here. We can't cover it in a single show. So at this point we're just kind of hanging out and waiting, and like if we go here and let's go check out Argo and see where things are. Have we onboarded? We've got the control plane. Oops. Dev. I don't think we've got any. Yeah, we don't have anything that we're waiting on here. But as we get a little bit closer to stuff being done, we'll actually see additional applications crop up for. Well, yeah, because I'm an admin, so I should see everything for that. So right now we're basically just hanging out and waiting. So okay, so this is done. So Open Unison has been deployed. Let's take a look at going on over here in the logs. And the last thing I see deployed is we have, okay, so we integrated Open Unison. So we've got that. We've integrated our virtual cluster for developers into our control plane for secure communication. And bonjour, Kafka. Welcome to the party.
Hey, Kafka.
We're having a great time here watching the logs go by, deploying tenants. One of the things I think we need to do with Open Unison is provide a better status board for like we have a report that says that whether or not your requests are open. We track if the workflow is still going. We need a better way to like, especially with these long running workflows, because this workflow is going to take 20 to 30 minutes to run. So yeah, so we're waiting for that. So where are we at this point? We've deployed stuff into vCluster. Let's see, are we waiting on something in? Let's see, what's degraded? No, that's okay. This will eventually catch up. We'll talk about let's see here, settings, projects. All right, so that's in there. And then clusters. So that's in there. What does invalidate cache do? All right, so that, okay, so that's now successful. And okay, and that's good. So eventual consistency isn't always a lie, only mostly a lie. So that's cruising along. So let that keep going. So how was your Thanksgiving, Scott?
Good, small, uneventful. Which interesting. As you know, my mom is in rehab because of the accident. So we spent Thanksgiving at the rehab center.
Oh, wow.
Rehab's probably the wrong word because it's not like a drug thing or that. It sounds bad,
Well,
right?
yeah.
But yeah, it's just because of walking and breathing and other problems that she had. Doing much better. It's been
That's
5 weeks
cool.
now. So honestly, first holiday for the family where that's ever happened, right? People have passed away, that kind of stuff, right, Mark? But this is different.
Yeah.
But good. How about yourself?
Good, good. Had my nieces in, and so my kids are late elementary school age,
Mhm.
both boys, and so my nieces, who are both toddlers, are a handful, and b awesome because they're my nieces, and so I love when they come in and just create fun havoc. It's fun havoc to have the nieces in the house. And the boys are always love seeing their cousins. So we had a lot of fun there.
It's fun
Um,
havoc because you get rid of them.
well, yeah, that's the thing.
That's
They go
the
home.
havoc is
Their mom
okay
and dad.
when they
They
go.
did stay over one night. We had one cousin sleepover,
Cool.
and that was a experience. My kids decided, all four of them decided they were going to build a fort downstairs in our den,
Oh,
and
that's
but
a
they
rite of
all have,
passage for kids.
yeah,
Blankets,
but
whatever. But
oh
yeah.
yeah, and that was great. Problem is they all have different sleep needs. So like my oldest son, he can sleep with the light on or the light off.
Ah,
He's not really super picky. My youngest son has to sleep with the light on. He will not sleep with the light off. And but my nieces sleep with the light off. So it just it my youngest niece, who just went into a big girl bed like a month ago, uh, she was sleeping on a cot and she, could not settle down, and so we moved her upstairs. And you know, I was happy the next day when they went home to their folks.
yeah, without a
Um,
doubt.
yeah, so we are still kind of cruising along. You can see Argo is just kind of hanging out, and there's been some syncing. Um, and let's see if we can find GitOps. So we are deploying the Vault configuration, it looks like here. So this is the part where we configure external secret operator to talk to Vault. So, and of course, we're doing that via Git, and we're going to take a look at what's going on in the Git repos as well. And so we can see here that external secret operator. Okay, so this is cool, right? So to tie this back to what we talked about earlier in the book about not wanting to store secrets in Git. Like we talked about that in chapter 7 or 8, whenever we talked about Vault and secrets management. Never, ever, ever store your secrets in Git. So we didn't. We store a definition for external secrets operator in Git, which then created our secret, which of course Argo's not going to let us see because Argo is a good application. So we should actually be pretty close to done with the dev cluster. That's the last step in the dev cluster. Let's see where we are here. And one of the things that makes this a little not difficult, but a little difficult to watch, to trace, is it's all asynchronous because we provision it into Git, but then we have to wait for Argo to pick it up before we go to the next step, right? Because it's not like when we provision directly to the API server. Hey, we provisioned it into the API server. We got that 201 back. Okay, we know it's good. Let's move on to the next step. It's like, no, you need to wait. And so that can take some time. So let's see. Where do we think we are right now? So we're not waiting on anything right now. So let's see. Oh, and we just deployed something. What did we deploy? We just create. So this is cool, right? We just delete. Okay, so this just deleted it because I talked about wait for state. So here's another example. All of our vClusters are backed using K3s with a MySQL backend. So they don't use etcd. They use K3s with kind, not kind, Kine, to use MySQL as a backend. And so we didn't want to embed passwords anywhere. And so we're using certificate authentication. Cert Manager will generate that cert for us, but we have to wait for that cert to be available before we launch the vCluster. So same type of deal. We generate a certificate object. We provisioned it into Argo. Now we want to wait. So like if we come back to Argo over here, oops, where'd you go? Here it is. So do we should have the prod. Refresh, maybe? Maybe we didn't do that yet. Let's see, settings, projects. No, I guess not. Well, we'll get there shortly. But yeah, what we're doing here is we're provisioning the cert request, and then we're waiting for the certificate for Cert Manager to actually generate. Now, it's pretty quick, but still, it takes a hot second. So we're waiting for stuff to get provisioned. Let's see, where are we? And you can see here, we've got our wait for job waiting for it to be there. So where are we? I think we're still waiting. Yeah, so it's still waiting for our production one to get created. And just to double check, let's make sure here that we don't have any exceptions. Sometimes there's a problem. I didn't see any exceptions, but let's see. Anything in the dead letter queue? Nope, no dead letter queue. So we're just kind of hanging out.
That's all you can do with these stuff, Mark, is you watch and
Yeah.
watch.
Just, sitting by the dock of the bay, watching the logs scroll away.
We should have thought of something we could show during that, be like.
Yeah, it's a little annoying. Oh, so this is deployment complete. So I think we are rolling out. Let's go over to pods. Yes. Okay. So we're rolling out the prod vCluster. So we've provisioned our dev environment. Now we're provisioning our prod environment. I will say I have done these types of setups where like I try to have the control plane stuff in the dev or the prod side, and it never works out well. I always like having all of the control plane, like separate out your management cluster from your workload, right? You don't want to be crossing streams. You don't want to, let the automation. Like I'm a huge fan of multi-tenancy as we're going through this. But I will say that whenever you do this type of a setup, it's always better to have a separation between your control plane and your workload clusters.
Yep.
All right, so it looks like our control plane has been deployed. And so onboard. So that's done. So now we are waiting for this to see that it's done. And then what is this looking for? vCluster. Let's see which one's waiting for. Okay, yeah, wait for states. So, okay, so this is still waiting for the vCluster to be ready. I don't think, Yeah, I don't think we've done the, yeah. And so you can see here, we ran 3 jobs, right? We ran 1 job for onboarding the dev cluster, ran another job here for onboarding Open Unison, and then the last job we ran was onboarding external secrets operator. And so like, not a lot going on here, but we ran a Helm chart to do the onboarding. So we can actually poke around a bit and start to see what this looks like, because I'm an administrator, so I can do everything. So like, let's go over to Harbor. We can see we've now got this My App library. And what's important here is that it's scoped just to users who are a member of the My App team. So by doing it this way, we've not just created all these different linkages, but we've created a sense of identity across these different systems, right? We have every app has 3 roles. We have dev, ops, and owner. That's going to translate to different permissions in these different systems. But from the application developer standpoint, their role dictates what they have. That's called role-based access control. Now, I'm generally not a huge fan of role-based access control. I like to use it as a starting point, not as a realization. I've had customers where in the past, in my consulting days, where just saying RBAC walking into a meeting got you thrown off the customer because people have had such bad experiences with it. But for something like this, I think it's good because it's small scale, where we can actually say, all right, let's create a role across these different applications. And because all of the identities are managed by Open Unison, we can control which permissions people get without having to manually control which permissions people get. So it really makes using these systems much easier. I will tell you, I'm working with a company that regulated industry, and they can't use kube control. They have to do everything through GitOps, and nothing is linked together. And I'm like, well, that's a failure of identity, right? Like if you don't have identities properly linked together, that creates a risk. But if you have those identities properly linked together, there's no reason why you can't have kube control, right? So that's a real benefit to using this approach. See how we're doing here. So this is humming along. Let's look at the dashboard. Where are we? And okay, so now we're onboarding Open Unison into the prod cluster. Onboarded, excuse me. Pardon me. And what does this look like if we do a refresh? So we still haven't created the prod My App yet. Interesting. Which makes sense. Just onboarded the vCluster. Because what will happen is, so like I can show here in the dev environment. No, I have to come over to the control plane. So we have an application set here for dev. We haven't yet created the application set yet for prod, which is why we don't yet have an application. And we'll talk about what an application set is. But this is the thing that tells Argo how to talk to our vCluster. So we haven't gotten to that point yet. So this is just kind of humming along. Yeah, I wish this had some like exciting animation. You probably could have had a ChatGPT or something. Oh, there we go. So we just created some secret policies inside of Vault. That's humming along. Oh yeah, let's go check out what's going on in Vault. Oh, and there's prod. Look at that. Go over to SSO into Vault. go over here to access, you'll see that we have created access for our dev and for our prod to be able to authenticate tokens from Kubernetes. So that way, ooh, let's sneeze. Okay. From Kubernetes. So we did this in chapter 9 or 10, whenever we did vClusters. We did something very similar where we onboarded our tenant in a way that secrets from Vault could get loaded using our tenant vClusters pod identities. So we did that here. We created all the appropriate policies and whatnot to make that work. And then if we go to secret, we laid it out in such a way, so like we haven't done this yet for prod, but like this is the poll secret that we generated in from Harbor into Vault. Now, 1.35, 1.35 just came out, right, Kubernetes?
Oh boy, you're asking me on a bad day.
I think that just came out.
Yeah.
1.35 has, I believe it's GA now, the ability to
134.
What is 134 the one that just came out?
Current 135 should be imminent, right?
Yeah, maybe it's imminent. I thought 135.
So 134 3 months ago, every 4. So it'd be coming up.
So 135 will probably come out before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Or no, it's every
4 months.
4 months, yeah. So anyway, so I believe it's 134. The image pull secret can be a service account went GA. So here what we're doing is we're generating what's called a robot account in Harbor and provisioning that. We'll do this for the next book, assuming we do this again, which I can't imagine we wouldn't. But what you can now do is say, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to have Harbor trust our API server or configure Harbor to trust a different identity provider. And you can tell Kubernetes, hey, run this command to generate a token from a service account. So that'll give us the ability to no longer have to do that. But obviously, we're not doing that here. So what's going on, Kafka?
And a little bit of timeout, December 17th, 135.
35, gotcha. Control plane of Kate's cluster of this run. Yes, that is definitely true. Where if you're running Kubernetes, the API server definitely runs inside of a managed system. When I talk about the control plane, though, I'm talking about the orchestration control plane, right? So we've got 3 clusters. We've got, I'm sure I have it somewhere in here. I've got the picture of what the environment looks like. I thought I did. I think I do. This is, here we go. So when I'm talking about control plane in this instance, Kafka, what I mean is this control plane cluster, the entire cluster is a control plane because it has your secrets manager, has your image registry, it has your Argo, it has your GitLab, it has your Open Unison. So that's what I mean by control plane. Control plane for your platform, not necessarily for the individual cluster. So that's what I meant by that. See how we're doing here.
I was talking to the Portworx guys last night about the same thing here, Mark, where the same term is just incredibly confusing in the Kubernetes world.
It is, and I I don't have a better.
No. Like namespace, right?
Oh, it
Kubernetes.
is done. So here's the cool thing. We're done. Everything's
Awesome.
been pushed. So let's go ahead and check out what we got. So like if I come back up here to vClusters, you can see now we have a production vCluster and a production secret, right? So that's there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sign out. And I'm going to sign out of Harbor. And I'm clicking on the screen share I'm looking at. And I'm going to log out of Argo. And I'm going to close this. And finally, I'm going to log out of Open Unison. Now I'm going to log in as Jay Jackson. So Jay Jackson's the application owner. First application owner is also the application admin. So yeah, I don't know why that didn't work. Don't worry about that later. So if I look at my roles here, I now have access in the developer. I'm an approver. I'm an owner, right? So I have access to all this stuff. And if I go to, for instance, Harbor, I can see I have access to the repo. If I go into Argo, you'll see I only have access to my two applications, right? We don't have the control plane, the developer platform control plane, not the Kubernetes control plane. Application, I only have access to my applications. I can't do anything in any applications that I'm not an owner of, right? So least privilege, all that good stuff. And finally, let's go ahead and SSO into GitLab. And if I go check out projects, oops, I'm a member of 3 projects. I have my application, I have the dev operations and the prod operations. And like I said before, these are not forks of each other, right? You've got to have some way to move your YAML from one into the other. So like here we've got service accounts. This is for talking to Vault. And then we're actually going to add an SSH key here in a second. Right? So we've got all this stuff. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to move the book over here so I can follow along. So we've gone ahead and rolled everything out, and that took about a half hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's scroll down to page. I gotta go all the way down back to chapter 19. Who wrote such a big book?
Irony, 4th edition would probably be bigger.
Oh, I know. I already want to split this chapter into at least 3, maybe 4 chapters.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge to get everything we want into it.
Let's see here. Did I actually roll it out? No. Okay, here we go. So I am on page 616. All right, so we're going to deploy an example application. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to add an SSH key to our environment. Now, I'm going to be super lazy. And you know, they say the best developers are the laziest ones. So I'm going to say I'm one of the okayest. Make sure app live stream. So let's go to app live stream. And I'm going to go ahead and SSH keygen. So cool. No password. All right, so I just generated a key for myself. All right, so I'm going to add this key to my profile. So I'm going to go to add an SSH key. Now remember, we add the public key. We don't add the private key. Don't ask me how I know that as being a problem. All right, and then we're not going to add an expiration. Okay, so I now have a key that I can use to access this environment. So the first thing I'm going to do is let's go ahead and come back here. I'm actually going to do something here real quick. I'm going to do this off screen. v.ssh known or not known hosts config. And I'm going to tell SSH. And the only reason why I'm doing this off screen is because I'm not going to show everybody all my keys. Chapter 19 is the name of the file, chapter 19. Okay. So, oh, wait, no, but I want to be J Jackson. I don't want to be M Mosley. J Jackson. All right. So if I did that correctly, I should be able to come here. So go to projects. We're going to go to member, and we're going to start off in ops dev. Now let's go ahead and get the code cloned via SSH. So git clone. See if I did this right. No such identity. Permission denied. Oh, I see the problem. Do you see the problem, Scott?
Well, you couldn't read from the directory, right?
No, even simpler than that. Typo.
Oh, well,
Freebie.
no, that's
Yeah.
the thing. It happens to me all the time, and I'll look at it for an hour.
Yeah, and I'm trying to overthink it. There we go.
There you
So
go.
we've got our right. So let's go into my app ops, YAML, namespaces, default. This is how I like to do my DevOps or my GitOps is break it down. Break it down. If I had a soundboard, this is where MC Hammer go across the. All right, so we're
come
gonna
on,
do.
you're showing age now, Mark. Come on.
All right, so I've got deployments. Where did I put this? Documents. Did I? Nope. Clear. All right, CP documents. Or not customers. Projects. Book. V3. Chapter 19. Example. Ops. YAML. All right, so we've got this YAML file, right? Cat, Python, hello. Not a lot going on here. The only thing I'll point out is that this image doesn't exist. We haven't built it yet, right? So we're gonna go ahead and add this. Git add, git commit m, initial rollout, git push. All right, so got that. So let's come back here. And we were in Argo. So if we go to dev&prod, I think we did that in dev. So let's go ahead and refresh. Yep. So we can see that syncing. and it sees the Python hello, right? Because GitOps, yay, GitOps, broken. Why is it broken? No image. No image? We haven't built anything yet. So let's go ahead and build it. So we are going to go now into our my app dev. No, projects, member. All right, my app prod application. Now, in the real world, the way we would do this, well, why don't we do it? So let's go ahead and fork, right? We would fork this into our own local environment to do our work. No, please select the namespace. So JJ. So I'm doing the import. I'm getting the app code. There's not really a lot in here, so not a lot to do. But I'm going to go ahead and grab my code. So let's go up, 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 up. One more. Okay. So git clone here. All right. So I've cloned the repo. Let's go into my app application. All right. And there's nothing here. We're going to run this again, but my app star. And because that's not really going to do what I want. Nope. There we go. So we just git add star, git status, git add .gitlab. Okay, so this GitLab CI file, this is our build process. Now, if you came to us from, and we talked a little bit about this last week, if you came to us from last year, or not last year, last two versions of the book, the first two versions of the book, we were using Tecton. Tecton has kind of gone by the wayside a bit. And so we decided to use GitLab. We do this again. I kind of want to do Argo workflows just to show yet another layer of integration. Not that there's anything wrong with GitLab. It's just GitLab tends to be a bit of a monolith. So here's our workflow. We've got two stages. We've got a build and a deploy. The build runs using a project called Kaneko, which is originally from Google. It was actually retired a few months ago. I don't know if somebody's picked it up. It's a great little project, so I'm hoping it's not gone forever. But this lets you run rootless Docker builds. So you can do a Docker build without actually running the Docker daemon. So hopefully it hasn't gone away. See what replaces it. Yep. Forks are our friends. Absolutely. So the build, there's not a lot of here. We go ahead and set up a Docker config. We run the Docker build. And really the only thing that we're doing here is injecting, we're injecting a identity so that a secret got added so that you can push from your build directly in. Now, I don't think it'll actually work. Yeah, it might work. Might not. We might have to merge it in. So we'll see. But once that's done, the next step is to do a deploy. Now, deployment is a little bit different because we don't want to talk directly to the API server. right? We want to talk to a YAML that's sitting in our Git repo. So what we're actually going to do is, and this is probably going to fail, we're going to clone our dev operations repo, or our dev operations repo. We're going to patch our deployment locally, commit it, check it in, and then wait for Argo to sync it in. Right? So that way we're still using GitOps. We're not doing things directly against the API server. So let's go ahead and git status. So everything's been added. Git commit m. I tested local and works. So let's push it. Let's come back to here. Now, I'm going to go look at build, and I'm going to assume this is going to fail. Well, this says it's running. And it failed, which is what I expected because my fork doesn't have the Harbor identity. So it can't push into Harbor. So what I'm now going to do is, I gotta remember how to do this. So if I go to code, I need to do a merge request, create merge request. In GitLab, it's called a merge request, not a pull request. You must select source. Oh, main. All right. So I tested locally and it works. Demos, yay. Assign to me. All right, create merge request. Approval is optional, right? So I approved it. Merge unverified changes. I'm not going to go too crazy about this, right? I don't need a notification. So everything's been merged in, and I'm now in my main project. So we can see that my code's there. So let's go look at our build process, pipelines. So our pipeline is running. Let's go take a look. And we're just waiting for the runner to go. GitLab does everything as pods, right? So very similar to the way I did it with OpenUnison where we launched a job. So we're waiting for everything to get going here. And so assuming this works, this is going to build our container and push it into, and we can see that passed, right? So now I'm going to come back here, let's log back in as Jay Jackson. So I'm going to go into Harbor, go into my app, and I can see I now have our container, right? That's cool, right? It's all been built. It's got a tag. This tag, a little hard to see here, 2FF54202. So come back here, and you're going to see that that's our tag, right? 2FF54202. So now you can tie the build directly to a commit. That's a big deal.
Absolutely, Mark. You know, in a highly regulated industry, really important to prove what you pushed. Hell, anywhere, right? But don't get me wrong. To be able to prove, no, I know that container does this, and it can't be messed with, right? Not easily.
Not easily. So wait, no, go back to GitLab. And the next question is build jobs. Second one ran. Now the second one passed, or that was the build. So come over here to the deploy. and same thing, right? It went ahead and pulled in the information from Git, patched it. So if we go to my applicator, let's go back here. Projects, member, and go into YAML, namespaces. Nope, wrong one. Default, deployments, Python hello. Right. So I actually think, yeah, I put this in the right place. You can see here that our pod is now referencing our Git container, our built container, and you can see from the commit what changed, right? Now, some of this is also because of Git patch, but you can see that process, right? That's GitOps. Big part of GitOps is being able to trace from commit to launch. So that was pushed in. So the question is, if we go ahead and now we've refreshed Argo, and we're going to wait for Argo to launch it. Yep, and there we go. We now have a, I don't know why that's there. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, I don't know why. That's weird. Okay, I'm not going to go too nuts about it. But we can see that we now have a running image with the right tag. And then as a app owner, I'm going to go ahead and go to the dev. I can go over to my dashboard. Maybe, maybe. Taking a second. Thinking. Really thinking hard. Dashboard broken? Oh, did I break my cluster? I've had this issue with this cluster. Yeah, it's not the cluster. Thank God this happened at the very end. The networking just dies and I have to reboot it, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So that's a good place to end the show. But you can see
no, a good place would have been a minute before.
Oh, I would have been crying. You would have seen a grown man cry. But which is why it's important to build fault tolerant systems. Yeah, so we saw like that whole life cycle, right? And I didn't run kube control for anything.
Yeah.
Right. And we incorporated so much of our various components that we've built over the course of this book. So we incorporated Vault, we incorporated vClusters, because that was synced into a vCluster. Now we're gonna spend some time talking about what that looked like when we get into Argo. We added Argo, right? We didn't do that one in earlier in the book. We added Harbor to make that work. One other thing we didn't do this time that we did in the last edition was OPA and Gatekeeper. And that's mostly because we were running so late on this like this chapter took me like 3 months to build. And so I think Packet was getting ready to hire bounty hunters to come after me to get it done. So you can see over here. I don't know. Can you see over here?
Yeah, I was waiting for either a Boba Fett reference, maybe.
Yeah, my PVE, my Proxmox is loading up. So let's see here. Can I log back in? Not gonna tell any of y'all my super secret password. I'll go ahead and launch it. I don't think we're gonna show anything else.
Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Mark?
What kind of asshole do you think I am? That's something somebody would put on their luggage.
On their luggage.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad that we know
Go
each
ahead.
other that well.
So, but yeah. So, but we saw that whole life cycle, right, of all those different things. OPA. So I ran out of time to do Gatekeeper. I kind of like to integrate that in the future. Maybe for the 4th edition, we'll do that just because I like to have everything kind of come together. And then we didn't integrate monitoring that and logging. That's too big. That's a thing. But hey, look, everything's integrated. The identities are all integrated. Yeah, I will say one of the trends from the last few years I really don't like is trying to integrate every API into a centralized portal like Backstage or something. And I really don't like that approach because now you're chasing your vendor and trying to keep up with your vendor's APIs when they've already built you a UI. And if you've got good SSO and good identity setup, you don't need it. Like you don't need one portal for everything. So yeah, so that's my rant for the day. But that said, we have deployed our tenant, right? We talked a lot about a little thing. We talked a little bit about a lot. The next few weeks, we're going to talk a lot about very specific components of this. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Vladimir, I think I'm saying Vladimir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Definitely.
Appreciate both the kind words and that you enjoyed the book. So
I'm gonna go on Kafka's last comment too. I do that a lot. Probably not the right way to do it. I fork as a bookmark when I see a repository I like.
Oh yeah.
I do that all the time.
Forks are our friends.
Yeah.
Forks are our friends. So what we're gonna do kind of now until see how many shows we get. Probably gonna do Argo next week because Argo is kind of the centerpiece, and we really haven't given Argo nearly as much love as we should in this book. And I will say in the 4th edition, I plan on doing a chapter just on Argo and GitOps.
We should do an overview, Mark. That the Argo up and running book, I think, is good.
Yeah, it's a great book. And
I did post that when I was on my vacation because I read it, and really did like it. Yeah,
I've read through most of it. It's a great book. And shout out to our friends over at the CNCF Virtual Book Club.
Yeah.
I think they're still going through it. They might have gone through every chapter. I think they gave that book the enterprise guide approach or treatment where they went through every single chapter.
They went through a ton of it, no doubt. That's where I got it when Marino was posting about that.
Yeah, we're not going to go that deep, but Argo needs some love in the book. And so I want to, we're going to do a whole episode, a whole live stream on Argo and how Argo is set up in this particular environment, how we handle talking to remote clusters, how we handled the automation, because you saw the whole thing deploy, but we never created anything manually, right? Everything was automated, no hands. And then we'll probably spend a little bit of time on GitLab. We'll spend some time on Harbor, because Harbor should get its own love. And then maybe a separate episode on Vault. I haven't decided yet. So we've got at least 2, maybe 3 more episodes.
That's more book stuff here, right?
So the book stuff.
In January, I wanted to bring in I had my friends here from Portworx last night.
Okay.
And storage conversation. We've talked about this, Mark, right? So some great guys we can bring in. And
we'll have Yuri on the show. Talk about KTLB.
Oh yeah, KTB. Yeah, KTB would be awesome to have Yuri on for that. Or a member of his team. Obviously I know Yuri more, but I'm sure they'd be good. And of course, we still got Stormforge. We got a good vendor lineup, and without necessarily trying yet. So
yeah, we haven't. What we need to do is we need to sit down and actually put together a schedule.
Yeah. Get people lined up more.
Yeah, and so we need to coordinate that one. I don't know if we'll do every week at that point. Maybe we'll do every other week.
Yeah, that need more time involved in those. This is
Yeah,
different. We wrote this. We know it. Here, the
exactly.
right topics. People are busy, but I see some big. I think there'd be some cool stuff. Bringing in some of
Yeah,
these subject matter experts in certain things. You know, like we did for Dom for Pixie,
exactly,
right? I
exactly.
mean, good conversations, and then people watching, listening can they know the names of the people, the projects, and we could always follow up too. People might go, "Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that conversation. Let's hit something else on that topic." Yeah.
and folks out there in TV land, um, let us know. Like, is there something you want to learn about? There's some like this is going to continue to be a live stream. We're not going to pre-record these. Uh, uh,
We
these are
live on the
not,
edge. We live on
yeah,
the
these
edge.
are not podcasts, right? These are going to be live streams. These are, going to be, hey, let's have some fun. That's another reason why I want to do every other week, because if there's something we want to work on and just be like, hey, I'm hacking around, let's do this. I want to give us some room to be able to do that outside of a schedule. So if there's something you want to see out there, let us know. Leave a comment. Smash that like and subscribe button. Um,
That's what I don't want to start posting. The groveling for the hit this. Yeah.
um, so yeah. So any closing thoughts, Scott, before we
No.
call it a day?
Nope. 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 Looking forward to next week, and then I'll start going on vacation shortly after, as a lot of the
Yep,
world does, because
yep.
I tend to save my
I
time, and I go, oh man, I got to use it. So,
I we're gonna be heading out west. We're
oh, that's
we're
right.
gonna be doing Arizona road trips. We're gonna start at the Grand Canyon and work our way down to Tucson. So
All I can think of is National Lampoon's Vacation. Mark, you got 6 kids in the back seat. I just don't know if hopefully it doesn't end
we
up like
will
that.
be staying in ARV for a couple of nights, so that should be interesting.
So you've got cousin
Um,
Eddie involved. Okay, yeah, sounds good.
well, and so my wife's family, they're the campers. Like her parents, her in-laws, my in-laws, her parents actually lived in an RV for a year
Wow.
when they moved out to Arizona. They lived in the RV as they went from the East Coast out to Arizona. And that sounds like my hell. Like
I don't
that's
know.
not.
Some of these new RVs, man, it's like it is
But
definitely a
you
house
gotta
on
drive
wheels.
them.
Well,
They're
that's
like
true.
driving buses.
Oh, it's worse than a bus period in more cases.
Yeah. Um, so it was actually cheaper to stay in an RV up in Williams than it was to get a hotel room and with a little bit more room. So we're going to do that. And so they're always, my kids and my wife are always like, hey, let's rent an RV. Let's rent an RV. I'm like, do you really know what you're asking for with this? So let's see if we can survive a couple of nights in an RV together
Very funny.
before we get on the road. Um, awesome, man. Well, we'll see everybody next week. We're going to talk about Argo. And
Vladimir
thank
was
you for
just
joining
saying
me.
that he discovered the first book in the CNCF.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Um, much love to CNCF Virtual Book Club. So anyway,
Yeah.
we are way past time. Thank you much, everyone.
Yes.
And please, 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 I'll be your best friend. I'll invite you to my birthday. Please leave us a quick review on Amazon. Really makes a big difference, huge difference, especially now that we're over a year old.
Yeah.
It really makes a big
Things
difference.
slow down after about a year, and
Yeah,
yeah.
if you can leave us a review on Amazon. So anyway, thank you so
Awesome,
much,
everybody.
and have a great rest of your day.